Cryptocurrency mining for beginners. Congratulations on researching how crypto mining works. By clicking this video, you've taken the first step in educating yourself on how to obtain financial freedom through crypto mining. Now, before you go put a down payment on that mansion, let's first understand the who, what, why, and how. We'll begin with a simple answer to the question, what is crypto? Crypto is the future of transactional exchange, controlled by no one person, entity, or ruling power. To understand this future of exchange, let's go back in time to understand how it evolved. During the Middle Ages, people used a bartering system, a form of trading, to exchange for goods and services. For example, I want apples, and I have sheep wool to trade. You have a bushel of apples from your farm's apple tree. We could negotiate a trade of wool for the bushel of apples. Sounds good. But what happens if that farm where your apple tree is also happens to be a sheep farm? The last thing you would need is more wool. I'm left with two options to obtain a bushel of apples. The first is to find someone else with a bushel of apples and hope they're in need of wool. Or second, find out what you want. Let's say a pair of shoes. I could then search for a cobbler in need of wool and exchange for shoes, and then come back to you and exchange the shoes for the apples. Wow, how about them apples? This was not an ideal method, so populations moved to precious metals. Gold and silver became the preferred method to obtain goods and services. Since these metals were mined from the earth and a scarce resource, humans could attach fixed values on their weight. Societies began accepting this as a standard form of payment. We now had a set commodity that could be used universally to buy and sell with. While this solved the problem of the bartering system, it spawned a new set of issues. These metals were heavy to lug around everywhere. Another constraint was breaking these metals up into smaller pieces. Let's say I wanted to buy those apples from you, and your asking price was 1 ounce of gold. I look in my bag, and the smallest piece I had was 5 ounces. This left us in a pickle when I'm trying to buy apples. The limits on portability and smaller denominations were quickly solved by goldsmiths and nation rulers who pressed and stamped these metals into the first coins. This evolved into a more structured system where a person could swap their coins for a paper receipt. People could bring 10 pounds of gold to a bank, and in return, they'd receive a 10-pound note. This created a ledger system by where a centralized institution such as the bank would keep the records of gold turned in for holding and receipts given in return. These paper receipts, or banknotes, could then be used to buy or sell goods and services. Any person holding these receipts could walk into a bank and claim its value of gold in return. A ledger was kept of gold stored that matched the receipts given out. These were kept by centralized institutions to balance and track all transactions. It was a fair and trusted system because for every receipt given, there was an equal amount of gold on hand. This centralized system, controlled by financial institutions and governments, remained unchanged until 1971, when the United States made the decision to remove the dollar from the gold standard. No longer would money created by the federal government have to be backed by gold. Instead of gold, all banknotes would be backed by a promise from the U.S. government. This promise, of course, didn't include that the government wouldn't print absurd amounts of money and devalue the currency. That's exactly what's been happening for 50 years. We've reached the point where greed, corruption, and the destruction of the middle class has left 99% of the people financially behind. Families, year after year, exhaust their life working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, but are still deep in debt and barely scraping by. In the last 2 years, the United States government has printed 80% of all money ever in existence. Let that statement settle in. 80% of all money ever has been printed in just the last 2 years. If you thought working 60 hours a week was tough, just wait until the reality of all this printing settles in. But wait, what if there was an alternative? What if there was a ledger system not kept in secrecy by financial institutions and governments? What if this system was transparent for all to see how the currency flowed? What if, instead of being controlled by countries and central banks, it was a global system that belonged to all people on Earth and not the top 1% in power? What if it had all these great features and was backed by a set limit that couldn't be deflated or inflated by anyone? Welcome, my friends, to cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency mining is open to anyone willing to take the time to learn. Those that do will be positioned well, as the rest of the world becomes harder and harder financially for people. This channel and our forums in our description are dedicated to educating all people across the globe on cryptocurrency and mining. Average people like you and me collaborate every day to share our computing power in pools to collect this currency. Through our unified efforts as a community, we're preemptively taking control of our own financial futures, away from irresponsible banking institutions and corrupt governments. You've already taken the first step by clicking on this video and learning the mistakes of the past, as well as seeing a future path with greater promise. Continue your education by subscribing and watching more of our videos. More importantly, visit the forums in the description to connect with others who are willing to share their knowledge. The crypto mining community is filled with folks who love to help others succeed on their crypto mining journey. We believe in a decentralized future and help all who want to take part in writing that future. All of our crypto mining educational materials, community-driven forums, and resources are free. Click in the description to connect with the wider community, and we'll see you in the next video.